All right, guys. Welcome to the first online portion of my class. I know this is going to be kind of new for you guys. It's new for me, but I know we're going to get through it, and definitely going to try to keep a bit of normalcy to our routine. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, World War I and the Russian Revolution, as you guys have kind of seen, and if you watched the oversimplified video, is that everyone kind of had this sense that a big conflict was probably on the horizon. They just didn't know when. European sides all kind of distrusted each other. Germany and France kind of distrusted each other due to a Franco-Prussian war that had happened several years before. And this distrust really led to the forming of powerful alliances. And the idea was that no one was going to start a war because you had all these alliances that were just too powerful. Like France and Britain and Russia, that's an ally or an alliance that you really don't want any part of if you're somebody trying to start a war. The problem is when you get an alliance versus an alliance. Now, these two alliances are known by two names. There's the Triple Alliance, which is also known by as the Central Powers. It's made up of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. Now, there are also some other ones that you guys we'll talk about here in a little bit, like the Ottoman Turks. Bulgaria is involved in it. For the Triple Entente, you've got France, Britain, Russia. Also, you would have Serbia and Romania that are going to be involved in this. So there are others that add into the alliance, but the big three of each one when the war starts out are these. And Italy is actually going to jump ship to the Allies, and we'll discuss that when it comes to it. So. Another reason why people had this distrust in each other was because of competition, economic competition, military competition. Germany was one of the big guys, new kids on the block. They had built their military and economic power to be one of the top in Europe. In fact, today they are still one of the top, or if not the top economy in Europe. So very strong, and this military and economic power kind of intimidated Britain, and Britain started trying to increase its military due to the threat that they felt like Germany posed. Despite this, though, Germany kind of felt like they were disrespected by everybody. They didn't feel like everyone treated them the way they felt they should be treated. I mean, I'm a powerhouse. You need to treat me like a powerhouse. And they just didn't feel like the rest of the countries did that. But Germany's main concern was not Britain and it wasn't France. It was Russia. Germany felt that Russia was extremely powerful. They're one of those countries that are so powerful they don't know they're powerful. They had an enormous amount of resources. They had an enormous amount of manpower. So Germany, as Russia was kind of just now starting to industrialize, Germany felt that if Russia did get a chance to industrialize the way everybody else had, there would be no way of stopping the power that they could kind of enforce on the rest of the world if they wanted to. Tensions are also going to increase throughout Africa. The Europeans made an effort to colonize Africa as much as possible because Africa is really known as the richest continent in the world. It has so many minerals and natural resources, and as I kind of digress off the subject, Africa has never really had it's always been so full of corruption in many of its countries that it's never really been able to take advantage of the richness that it has, and but the Europeans did. The Europeans kind of took advantage of the Africans to get the resources, to get the diamonds, to get the gold, to get the silver, to get all the other stuff. So there's a lot of tension and conflict. France and Germany get into a conflict over Morocco. Germany takes over the Central African Republic, and uh, yeah, so there's a lot of tensions going on in Africa. Germans also felt like, or they also hoped for the opportunity to get back this Alsace-Lorraine territory, which is kind of highlighted in red right here. That was a territory that was kind of lost in this Franco-Prussian War, and a lot of the Germans kind of felt like, hey, that's ours, we want it back. The other area that caused a little bit of conflict is nationalism. Now, I wanted to give you an official definition of nationalism, just so you kind of have a better idea of what it is. But nationalism is an ideology and a movement that promotes the interest of a particular nation, especially with the aim of gaining and maintaining the nation's sovereignty over its homeland. Now, this could also be kind of put in terms of ethnic nationalism as well. So this is going to kind of be the reason why the war really starts. The country that was the most nervous about all this was Austria-Hungary. Russia was full of Slavic people. Germany was mostly made up of Germans, Jews. France, same, and you kind of were mostly made up of your people. But Austria-Hungary and their expansive territory had all kinds of ethnic groups there, and not all of them liked them. So that was the area where I think Austria-Hungary was the most nervous about all this nationalism that was growing. In 1912, you see these Balkan states, and the Balkans, just so you guys will know if you've never heard of it before, the area of Bulgaria, Serbia, Albania, Montenegro, that area is kind of known as the Balkans, even Greece. And so when they tell you about the Balkan Peninsula, the Balkan Wars, all that kind of stuff, that's what they're talking about. So these Slav states of the Balkans, they attack Turkey in 1912, and they take a large area of Turkish land. But they end up fighting each other for who should the land go to. And this instability really kind of gives them this unofficial nickname of as the powder keg of Europe in 1914. And this powder keg in 1914 is actually going to ignite. So the Archduke Francis Ferdinand, who's actually the heir to the emperor, he decides to go visit Sarajevo, which is in the present-day country of Bosnia Herzegovina. And this kind of angered many Serbs who kind of thought he was a little oppressive. They kind of considered Austria-Hungary as a whole to be an oppressive people, or as oppressive on them. And there was a group of Serbian terrorists known as the Black Hand that decided, you know what, this is our time to take action. And so a couple of their members get together and try to assassinate the Archduke. And if you've watched the video, you know the first attempt, I think, was failed, and the second attempt, the car just happens to drive by Gavrilo Princip, who is the assassin, and he fires 2 shots to the car, killing the Archduke and his wife. And this kind of stuns the world. Germany's kind of stunned that this happened, and they vow basically unrestricted support. That Austria-Hungary, no matter what you decide to do, we're going to do it with you. And Austria decides to give this list of demands to Serbia. Now, Serbia agrees to some or most of these demands, but there are other things that they don't. And what Austria-Hungary was asking them to do was to agree to all of them. And because Serbia didn't agree to all of them, Austria-Hungary declared war on them on July 28, 1914. And then the dominoes start to fall. So just bear with me on this. You probably saw a little bit of it in your video, but Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, who's allies with Russia. Germany declares war on Serbia due to its alliance with Austria-Hungary. Russia declares war on Germany and Austria-Hungary due to its alliance with Serbia. Also, a little point here, Russia saw itself as the greatest protector of the Slavic people. Since they were the big man on campus, they were one of the stronger nations, they felt that they were in the best position to protect people such as the Serbs and the Slovaks and all that kind of stuff. So, France ends up declaring war on Germany because of its alliance with Russia, and they also didn't want to fight Germany alone. Germany's army was about 11 million men, and France had about 8.5 million. So, yeah, you're not that big, and you're going to need some help. So, France is looking for that help. Britain declares war on Germany, but they really don't get involved until Germany and their Schlieffen Plan go through Belgium, who is neutral, and violate their neutrality. That's when Britain really gets into the war. But everybody kind of declares war on each other because everybody's allies with everybody. A reaction to the war is that the war calmed internal issues in Britain, such as the labor and the unrest and unrest in Ireland. And if you know anything about British history, you know that Ireland has always been at odds with the Brits. Russia as well is able to kind of temporarily get some relief from the revolution of 1905. Patriotism is on the rise, but so is the rise of militarism. And militarism is this glorification of the military, and the military tradition is painted as this romantic, amazing thing to do. Young men had kind of dreamed about being on that cavalry charge and just riding into the fray, trumpets blaring, and in their dashing cavalry uniforms and just guns blazing, just going for the glory of the country. That was the way to go. But they didn't realize that this war was going to be completely different than anything they ever thought possible. And this is going to bring us to the first assignment and really where we're probably going to stop for today. So your first one is a daily grade. It's due Friday, and I want you to read The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now, this poem was published on December 9th, 1854, so it's a good 60 years before this war was. And so you kind of get an idea of how, if you read into it, you kind of see this is like an old-style type of war. I want you to answer the following questions. But I want you to keep in mind that World War I was about to be far different than how wars had been previously fought. So explain what the poem is about. What does the poem say about courage? Do you agree with what it says? From stanza 2, who do you think has made the mistake? 4, how would you feel if you were with the 600 men in this situation? 5, does it romanticize war? Why or how? And number 6, what did you take from the poem? Likes, dislikes. The other one that I want you to do is a test grade due Friday. 3 pages, typed, double-spaced. Not big on necessarily getting me with this. I don't need a half page of bibliographies. If you want to tell me where you get the information from, that's okay. But I want this to be as much of your ideas as possible. So please do not plagiarize. I will be checking for that. But I want you to find a modern source that romanticizes war. This can be a movie, a poem, or a story. And there's tons of examples out there, guys. All you got to do is YouTube it, or not YouTube it, Google it, and you'll find plenty. And I want you to answer the following questions as well. So what is it about? Who are the main characters? What is it? How does it romanticize war? What did you take from the source? Do you feel that war should be romanticized? Why or why not? Make sure that you include the name of the source that you have chosen to analyze. I don't want to sit there and read about something and I'm like, well, what the heck are you even talking about? So just keep that in mind. And I think we got, about 14 minutes even right now. So that's actually where we're going to stop for today. I know we haven't covered too much, guys, but we will be getting into it on Wednesday. So if you have any questions, again, I've sent you guys emails on my office hours and etc. So I hope you guys are looking forward to the next lesson as much as I am. And I'll talk to you then.